Kang Jin-woo's fingers tightened around Lee Seo-yoon's throat. I spent 3 years searching for the woman whose blood saved my life while I was in a coma. Every socialite in Seoul claimed it was them, but they didn't have the scent. Seo-yoon's heart hammered against her ribs. Her breathing was shallow. Her simple gray janitor's uniform was a stain against the marble and gold of the gala. "You have the wrong person, Chairman," Seo-yoon whispered. Her voice trembled, but her eyes remained like flint. "I'm a convict. You hired me because the government gives you a tax break for employing ex-prisoners." Jin-woo leaned in closer. His nose brushed her temple. He inhaled sharply. Lavender and antiseptic. The exact smell of the woman who held my hand before they put the needle in. "Why do you have it, Janitor Lee?" Seo-yoon's stomach churned. "He's getting too close. He'll see the truth in my eyes." She reached into her pocket. Her fingers closed around a cold platinum band. The ring Grandfather Kang had forced her to wear in a secret ceremony the day she left the gates of Cheongju Women's Prison. "You want to know why I have the scent?" Seo-yoon's voice suddenly turned icy. "It's the smell of a woman who has nothing left to lose." She shoved the ring into his chest. It clattered against his diamond-studded tuxedo buttons. Before he could react, she let it go. The ring bounced once on the glass and plummeted into the dark abyss of the city below. "You bought 3 years of my life with that ring," she said, her voice steady now, defiant. "The contract is over. I'm taking my soul back." Jin-woo's grip loosened in shock. "What are you—" Seo-yoon didn't wait. She stepped back, her heels clicking on the ledge. She didn't look down. She looked straight into Jin-woo's soul. Then she tipped backward. "Seo-yoon!" Jin-woo roared, lunging for her. She vanished into the black. For 5 agonizing seconds, Jin-woo's heart stopped. He peered over the edge, his face contorted in a mask of madness. Below, a high-speed black motorboat cut through the Han River, a silhouette of a woman standing at the helm. She hadn't jumped to die. She had jumped to escape him. Jin-woo punched the glass railing. "Find her!" he barked into his earpiece. "I don't care if you have to burn Seoul to the ground. Find my wife." Flashback. 3 years ago, the rain in Seoul felt like needles. Lee Seo-yoon stood in the middle of a deserted intersection, her hands covered in blood that wasn't hers. 10 feet away, a luxury sedan was crumpled against a pole. "Seo-yoon, run!" she gasped, turning to her younger brother. The boy was shaking, the steering wheel's imprint still fresh on his chest. "Nuna, I didn't see him. He just stepped out." Seo-yoon sobbed. "Give me the keys," Seo-yoon commanded. Her mind was a whirlwind of terror. Their parents were dead. Seo-yoon was a medical student with a future. She was just a struggling designer. "Go home. Forget you were here. Tell them I was driving." "But Nuna—" "Go!" she screamed. When the sirens arrived, Seo-yoon sat on the asphalt, her head bowed. She didn't know the man in the other car was the crown prince of Kang Group. She didn't know that by entering the prison cell, she was entering a cage she would never truly leave. 6 months into her sentence, a group of men in black suits arrived at the infirmary. "Inmate 4021, a doctor muttered, his face pale. "You have a rare phenotype. Type O negative with the Bombay blood group. There is a VIP in the VIP wing. He's dying. He needs 800 milliliters immediately." "I have rights," Seo-yoon whispered, her body thin from prison rations. "You have a brother," a voice boomed from the doorway. An old man with a cane, Grandfather Kang, stepped forward. "Donate the blood and your brother's hit-and-run evidence disappears from the police archives forever. Refuse, and he joins you in a cell by tomorrow morning." Seo-yoon felt a chill run down her spine. They knew. The powerful always knew. "I'll do it," she said, her voice hollowing out. "But under one condition. The recipient, he must never know my name. To him, I am nobody." The needle was thick. As the blood drained from her arm, the world turned gray, her vision blurred. She felt a phantom hand catch hers, A deep, unconscious groan came from the man in the bed next to her, Kang Jin-woo. Even in a coma, his presence was suffocating. "I am giving you my life," she thought as she fainted. "Don't you dare wake up and look for me." Present day. The Kang Group headquarters. The elevator doors slid open with a predatory hiss. Kang Jin-woo stepped out, his aura so dark the receptionists bowed until their foreheads nearly touched their knees. "Where is she?" he demanded. "Chairman, she showed up for her shift," his secretary stammered. "In the basement. She's cleaning the waste disposal unit." Jin-woo headed for the service stairs. He didn't use the elevator. He wanted to feel the heat of the building. He found her in a dim concrete room. Seo-yoon was back in her janitor's jumpsuit, her hair tied in a tight practical bun. She was scrubbing a chemical spill as if she hadn't just jumped off a skyscraper 12 hours ago. "You think a boat and a change of clothes makes you free?" Jin-woo's voice echoed off the damp walls. Seo-yoon didn't look up. "I'm a parolee, Chairman. I have to work. You're the one who signed my work release papers. If I'm not here, I go back to jail. Isn't that what you want?" Jin-woo grabbed her arm, pulling her up. The friction of his expensive wool suit against her rough cotton uniform felt like a spark. "I want to know why you lied. My grandfather said he chose you because you were hard-working. He didn't mention you were a ghost who saved my life." "I didn't save you for your thanks," Seo-yoon spat, her eyes flashing with a sudden violent fire. "I did it for a debt. Now, let go of me. I have floors to wax." "No," Jin-woo said, his grip tightening. He noticed her skin was deathly pale. Her lips had a bluish tint. "You're shaking." "I'm fine," she lied. Her head spun. The 800 milliliters she had given years ago had left her with chronic recurring anemia. The stress of the gala had triggered a relapse. Suddenly, the room tilted. The concrete rose to meet her. "Seo-yoon!" Jin-woo caught her before she hit the floor. Her body felt weightless, fragile, like a bird with broken wings. For a split second, the mad heir vanished. A look of genuine, gut-wrenching panic crossed his face. He felt the biological pull, the blood in his veins screaming in recognition of the woman in his arms. He didn't call a medic. He lifted her and carried her toward his private elevator. "Call my personal doctor," he roared into his phone, "and tell the design department to clear out my sub-office. Janitor Lee isn't cleaning floors anymore." "Sir, what is her new position?" Jin-woo looked down at the unconscious woman, her head resting against his heart. "She's my personal assistant. I'm going to keep her where I can watch her bleed." 2 hours later, Seo-yoon woke up on a leather sofa in an office that cost more than her family's lost home. An IV drip was connected to her arm, pumping iron and saline into her system. Jin-woo was sitting behind a massive obsidian desk, staring at a sketchbook he had pulled from her janitor's cart. "These designs," he said, not looking at her. "The phoenix necklace, the shackled earrings. You drew these?" Seo-yoon sat up, her heart leaping into her throat. "Those are private. Give them back." "They're genius," Jin-woo countered. He stood up and walked toward her, the sketchbook held out like a weapon. "But they're full of pain. Why is every piece of jewelry you draw shaped like a cage?" "Because that's all I know," she snapped, ripping the book from his hand. "Well, Assistant Lee," Jin-woo leaned down, his face inches from hers, his blue eyes cold and calculating again. "Welcome to your new cage. You'll sit at that desk. You'll breathe when I tell you. And if you try to jump again, I'll make sure your brother is the one who catches you. Do we have a deal?" Seo-yoon's blood ran cold. He knew about Seo-joon. "I hate you," she whispered, the words dripping with venom. Jin-woo smiled, a sharp, predatory twist of the lips. "Good. Hate is an honest emotion. It'll keep you alive while I figure out how to break you." The door burst open. Park Min-ho, the man who had blackmailed her brother, the man truly responsible for the accident, walked in with a smug grin. Jin-woo, I heard you hired a convict to be your assistant? Are you finally losing your mind? Seo-yoon's hand flew to the IV site. Her skin crawled. The predator had entered the room, and she was trapped between two monsters. Min-ho, Jin-woo said, his voice dropping to a dangerous low hum. You're late for the briefing, and you're standing on my assistant's shadow. Move. The air in the sub-office was thick with the scent of ozone and expensive cologne. Park Min-ho didn't move. He stood on the edge of Seo-yoon's shadow, his presence a deliberate stain on her small pocket of safety. He was the architect of her ruin, the man who had watched her take the handcuffs 3 years ago without blinking. What's the matter, Seo-yoon? Min-ho sneered, his voice a low vibration that made her skin crawl. Forgotten how to greet an old friend? Or did the prison guards beat the manners out of you? Seo-yoon's knuckles turned white as she gripped the edge of the obsidian desk. Don't react. If you react, he wins. Her heart was a drum, rhythmic and frantic. She could feel the IV site in her arm throbbing, a reminder of her physical frailty. I don't have friends who frame women for vehicular manslaughter, Min-ho, she said, her voice a brittle shard of glass. Min-ho's smile didn't falter. It widened. Careful, you're still on parole. One word from me about threatening behavior and you're back in a jumpsuit by dinner. That's enough. Jin-woo's voice sliced through the tension like a guillotine. He was standing by the floor-to-ceiling window, the Seoul skyline framed behind him like a kingdom he owned. He turned, his blue eyes locking onto Min-ho with a chilling, predatory stillness. I told you to move, Min-ho. I don't repeat myself for subordinates. Min-ho stiffened. The power dynamic shifted instantly. He took a step back, raising his hands in a mock gesture of surrender. Just making sure the new help knows the rules, Jin-woo. You know how these types are. They get a little taste of the high life and forget where they crawled out from. She didn't crawl, Jin-woo said, walking toward them. His footsteps were silent on the deep pile carpet. I pulled her out, which means she belongs to my jurisdiction. If you have a problem with her, you have a problem with me. Min-ho's eyes flashed with a flicker of genuine fear. He knew Jin-woo's reputation. The Mad Heir wasn't just a nickname, it was a warning. Jin-woo had once fired an entire board of directors because they disagreed with a design choice. He was volatile, brilliant, and utterly devoid of mercy. Right, your jurisdiction, Min-ho muttered, his gaze darting to Seo-yoon. I'll see you at the briefing, Chairman. As the door clicked shut, the silence in the room became heavy. Seo-yoon slumped back against the sofa, her breath hitching. The adrenaline was fading, leaving behind the cold, hollow ache of her anemia. Drink this, Jin-woo commanded. He held out a crystal glass filled with a dark, iron-rich juice. I don't want anything from you, Seo-yoon whispered. Jin-woo didn't flinch. He sat on the edge of the coffee table, invading her personal space. He grabbed her hand, the one that wasn't connected to the IV, and forced her fingers around the glass. His skin was hot against her cold palm. You'll drink it because I ordered it, he hissed. You're useless to me if you're unconscious. I hired a designer, not a corpse. Seo-yoon looked at the glass, then at him. You didn't hire a designer. You hired a slave to satisfy your curiosity. You're obsessed with the blood, aren't you? You feel it? Every time I'm near, your heart rate picks up. You can't explain why your body recognizes a convict. Jin-woo's jaw clenched so hard a muscle jumped in his cheek. She had hit the nerve. He hated that she was right. Ever since he woke from the coma, he had felt incomplete, as if a part of his soul was walking around outside his body. When he had found her at the gala, that hole had suddenly closed. Eat, he said, ignoring her provocation. He gestured to a tray of high-protein food. In 10 minutes, we go to the design floor. You're going to show me that you're worth more than the floor wax you were using this morning. The design floor OG Kang Group was a cathedral of glass and white light. Dozens of elite designers sat at high-tech stations, crafting the jewelry that defined the Asian elite. When Jin-woo walked in with a woman in a wrinkled janitor's uniform, the room went silent. "Listen up," Jin-woo announced, his voice carrying to every corner. "This is Lee Seo-yoon. She is my personal assistant. She will be sitting at the lead designer station." A collective gasp rippled through the room. The lead designer station had been vacant for 2 years. "Chairman!" A woman with sharp features and a designer suit stepped forward. Kim Bella. She was the head of production and Min-ho's sister. "You can't be serious. She's a criminal. It's a security risk. She'll steal our trade secrets." "She won't steal what she can create better than any of you," Jin-woo said coldly. He turned to Seo-yoon. "The Empress collection is failing. The sketches are stagnant. Fix it." Seo-yoon felt the weight of 50 hateful gazes. She felt the sweat pooling at the small of her back. She walked to the station, her legs shaking. She sat in the ergonomic chair. It felt like a throne made of thorns. She looked at the digital tablet. The current designs for the Empress collection were beautiful but soulless. They were technical masterpieces with no heart. Seo-yoon picked up the stylus. Her hand trembled for a second, then went still. The moment she touched the screen, the world disappeared. The convict vanished. The janitor died. The genius woke up. She began to draw. She didn't draw flowers or stars. She drew the shape of the bars on her cell window, but twisted them into delicate platinum filigree. She drew the tears she had shed for her brother and turned them into pear-shaped diamonds that seemed to weep light. Jin-woo watched her from the shadows of the mezzanine. He watched the way her posture changed. She wasn't a victim anymore. She was a creator. "She's magnificent," his mind whispered. He crushed the thought. Suddenly, a hand slammed down on Seo-yoon's tablet. "What do you think you're doing?" Bella hissed, her face contorted with rage. "This is garbage. You're ruining our brand with this prison art." Seo-yoon looked up. Her eyes were different now. The pleading was gone. "It's not garbage, Director Kim," Seo-yoon said, her voice rising so the whole floor could hear. "It's truth. Your designs are bored. They're for people who have everything. My designs are for people who have survived everything. Which one do you think the modern woman identifies with?" Bella raised her hand to slap her. "Try it!" Jin-woo's voice boomed from above. He was leaning over the railing, his eyes like ice. "And I'll have security escort you out of this building in handcuffs. In this company, talent is the only hierarchy. And right now, Assistant Lee is the highest ranking person in this room." Bella's hand dropped. Her face turned a sickly shade of red. She turned on her heel and stormed out, her heels clicking like gunfire. Seo-yoon looked up at Jin-woo. A silent message passed between them. "I saved your life," her eyes said. "I know," his eyes replied, even though his mind still refused to say the words. The workday was over, but the torment wasn't. Jin-woo had moved Seo-yoon's things into a small room attached to his penthouse. "I'm not staying here," Seo-yoon said, standing in the middle of the luxurious bedroom. "You are," Jin-woo said, unbuttoning his vest. "Your brother, Seo-joon, he's in his final year of med school, isn't he? He's currently on a scholarship funded by a Kang Group subsidiary. It would be a shame if that scholarship were revoked." Seo-yoon felt a physical blow to her chest. She gasped, her hand flying to her heart. "You monster! He has nothing to do with this." "He has everything to do with it," Jin-woo said, stepping into her space. He was so close she could feel the heat radiating off his body. "You took the fall for him. You gave your blood for me. You're a woman who lives for others. That makes you easy to control." He reached out, his thumb brushing the curve of her jaw. His touch was electric, a searing contrast to the cold words he was speaking. "Why do you care so much?" Seo-yoon whispered, her eyes filling with tears. "If you hate me, let me go. If you're grateful, give me my freedom." "I don't know why I care." "Gus," Jin-woo roared. Suddenly losing his composure, he grabbed her by the shoulders, his grip possessive. I wake up in the middle of the night smelling lavender. I see your face in the dark. My blood. It beats differently when you're in the room. I don't want to be grateful. I want to know why you have this power over me. He pulled her closer, his forehead resting against hers. For a moment, the mad heir looked like a broken boy. Stay, he whispered. Stay, and I'll save your brother. Stay, and I'll make you the greatest designer in the world. Seo-yoon looked into his blue eyes. She saw the madness, yes, but beneath it, she saw a desperate, agonizing loneliness. I'll stay, she said, her voice breaking, but don't expect me to love you. You can own my body, Chairman. You can own my time, but you will never, ever own my heart. Jin-woo's expression hardened. The vulnerability vanished, replaced by the mask of the predator. We'll see about that. Inmate 4021. He turned and walked out, locking the door behind him. Seo-yoon sank to the floor, her tears finally spilling over. She clutched her stomach, a sudden wave of nausea hitting her. It wasn't just the anemia. It was something else. A secret she hadn't even admitted to herself. She was late. 3 weeks late. The gilded cage had just become a prison for two. She had no idea that the door to her room has a secret camera. In another room, Park Min-ho was watching the feed. He sees her clutching her stomach. He smiles. A baby, Min-ho whispers, the perfect weapon to destroy the Kang group forever. The air in the boardroom was a frozen vacuum. Jin-woo sat at the head of the table, his fingers tapping a rhythmic, lethal beat against the mahogany. Across from him, Park Min-ho leaned back, a predator who knew the trap was already set. The designs for the Empress collection are trending, Jin-woo said, his voice a low, dangerous hum. The public is calling it the soul of the modern woman. But you, Min-ho, you look like you've swallowed a bone. Min-ho chuckled, a dry, rattling sound. I'm just worried about the foundation, Jin-woo. Talent is one thing, integrity is another. Tell me, does your genius assistant mention her morning sickness to you, or does she save that for the janitor's closet? Jin-woo's hand went still. The rhythmic tapping stopped. The silence that followed was heavy, suffocating. What did you say? Oh, you didn't know? Min-ho leaned forward, his eyes gleaming with malice. Our little convict is carrying a passenger. The question is, who's the father? A cell block guard? Or perhaps she's been thanking you for the promotion in ways that don't involve a sketchbook. Jin-woo stood up. The heavy chair flew backward, crashing against the floor. In 2 strides, he was across the room, his hand bunching the lapels of Min-ho's 3,000,000 suit. If you breathe her name again, Jin-woo hissed, his blue eyes turning a terrifying shade of midnight, I will personally ensure you never breathe anything again. He shoved Min-ho back and stormed out of the boardroom. His mind was a storm of fire and ice. Pregnant? The word felt like a physical weight in his chest. A sudden memory flashed. Seo-yoon clutching her stomach in the office, the bluish tint of her lips, the way she had looked at him with that mixture of hatred and profound sorrow. He found her in the design studio. She was hunched over her tablet, her face pale. She looked fragile, translucent. Is it true? Jin-woo demanded, his voice echoing off the glass walls. Seo-yoon jumped, the stylus slipping from her hand. She looked at him, her eyes wide with a fear that shattered his heart before he could stop it. What? The child, Jin-woo said, walking toward her, his presence looming. Are you pregnant? Seo-yoon's breath hitched. She didn't look away. She didn't blink. Yes. The word hit the room like a bomb. Jin-woo's world tilted. He reached out, his hand shaking, and grabbed her shoulder. Who? Who is the father? Seo-yoon laughed, a hollow, bitter sound that ended in a sob. Does it matter? To you, I'm just a convict, a slave, a blood bag. Why do you care if my child has a father? I care, Jin-woo roared, pulling her closer, his face inches from hers. Because you are mine. Your blood is mine. Your body is mine. If there is a life inside you, it belongs to this house. It belongs to no one, Seo-yoon screamed back, tears finally spilling over. It's the only thing in this world that is truly mine. You can lock the doors, Jin-woo. You can take my brother, but you will never have this child. Suddenly, her knees buckled. The chronic anemia, the stress, the shock. It was too much. She collapsed. Jin-woo caught her, his madness instantly replaced by a cold, sharp panic. Seo-yoon, look at me. But she didn't answer. Her skin was ice. The emergency wing hallway of Seoul National University Hospital was a blur of white light and the screeching of gurney wheels. Jin-woo ran alongside the paramedics, his expensive suit stained with Seo-yoon's sweat and the dust of the design floor. She's hemorrhaging, a nurse shouted. Her hemoglobin is at a 4. We need a transfusion now. Take mine, Jin-woo barked, grabbing a doctor by the arm. We have the same blood. Take it all. Sir, you're the chairman. We need to... I don't care who I am. Save her. As they prepped Jin-woo for the direct transfusion, Park Min-ho appeared at the end of the hall, flanked by Kim Bella. Wait, Bella shouted, holding up a file. You can't use her blood, and you shouldn't give yours. Jin-woo looked at them through the glass of the donor room, his eyes blazing. Get them out of here. Jin-woo, listen, Min-ho yelled through the door. We found the real records. The woman who saved you 3 years ago wasn't the convict. It was Bella. Seo-yoon stole the identity in prison to get a lighter sentence. She's a fraud. The doctor hesitated, his hand over the needle. Jin-woo looked at Bella. She was holding a forged medical log, her face a mask of false concern. Then he looked at Seo-yoon through the other glass partition. She lay there dying, her life force draining away into the white sheets. The scent, Jin-woo thought, the lavender, the way my heart beats when she enters the room, the biological pull. She's lying, Jin-woo whispered. Chairman, if the records are in question, the doctor started. I said she's lying, Jin-woo roared, pointing at Bella. Take the blood now. If she dies because you hesitated, I will buy this hospital and level it to the ground with you inside it. The needle entered his vein. He watched his blood, the blood she had given him 3 years ago, traveling through the tubes, returning to its original owner. It was a closed loop, a debt being paid in full. 1 hour later, in the recovery room, Seo-yoon's eyes fluttered open. The first thing she saw was Jin-woo. He was sitting in a chair beside her bed, his face gray, a cotton ball taped to the crook of his arm. He looked exhausted, human. The baby? She whispered, her voice a ghost of a sound. Jin-woo leaned forward, his hand tentatively touching her hair. The baby is safe, for now. Seo-yoon closed her eyes, a single tear escaping. Why did you do it? You think I'm a fraud. Your friend said I lied. My heart knows who gave me my life, Jin-woo said, his voice cracking. And it wasn't the woman holding the folder. It was the woman who jumped into the dark to get away from me. He leaned down, his forehead resting against hers. I'm sorry, Seo-yoon, for everything. For a second, the walls between them vanished. The master and the slave disappeared. There was only the heat of their shared blood. Then, the door clicked. Park Min-ho walked in, his face a mask of cold triumph. Behind him were 2 police officers. Lee Seo-yoon, the officer said, stepping forward. You are under arrest for the attempted murder of Kim Bella. Seo-yoon's heart leaped into her throat. What? I didn't... She stabbed herself with your design shears in the hallway. Min-ho lied, his voice dripping with mock sorrow. There were 3 witnesses, all employees you intimidated earlier today. Jin-woo stood up, his fury returning. This is a setup. She hasn't left this bed. The security cameras were malfunctioning during the incident, Chairman, Min-ho said, stepping closer, his eyes locked on Seo-yoon with predatory glee. But the blood on the shears belongs to Bella. And the fingerprints? They belong to the convict. Min-ho leaned down, whispering so only Seo-yoon could hear. I told you, I'll make you beg for the cell. This time, you won't be coming out. Don't touch her, Jin-woo roared. But the officers were already moving. They pulled Seo-yoon from the bed, the IV line ripping out of her arm. She screamed in pain, her hand clutching her stomach. Jin-woo, the baby! She cried out. Jin-woo lunged for the officers, but Min-ho's private security blocked him. He fought like a madman, his fists flying, but there were too many of them. I'll find you! Jin-woo screamed as they dragged her into the hall. Seo-yoon, I'll burn the world down to find you! Seo-yoon looked back one last time. She saw Jin-woo pinned to the floor, his face pressed against the cold tile, his eyes full of a helpless, agonizing rage. Then, the elevator doors closed. The darkness returned. As Seo-yoon is thrown into the back of the police van, she feels a sharp, hot pain in her abdomen. She looks down. Her gray uniform is turning a dark, terrifying red. She isn't just going to jail. She's losing the only thing she has left. The police van smelled of rusted iron and rain. Seo-yoon huddled on the metal bench, her hands cuffed behind her back, the cold steel biting into her wrists. Every bump in the road sent a jolt of agony through her abdomen. She looked down. The dark red stain on her gray uniform was spreading, a silent, terrifying clock ticking away the life of her child. I have to stay awake, she thought, her vision blurring. If I close my eyes, we both die. The van doors swung open at the detention center. The air was biting. A female officer grabbed her arm, hauling her out. Seo-yoon stumbled, her knees hitting the wet asphalt. Get up, convict, the officer barked. You've got a visitor. High priority. Seo-yoon was dragged into a sterile interrogation room. She expected Jin-woo. She expected him to burst through the door with his lawyers and his madness, ready to tear the building down. Instead, the door opened for Park Min-ho. He sat across from her, looking impeccable in his charcoal suit, a contrast to the blood-stained woman trembling in the chair. He placed a single piece of paper on the table, a confession. Sign it, Min-ho said, his voice a smooth, lethal silk. Admit you stabbed Bella. Admit you stole the company designs. I need a doctor, Seo-yoon gasped, her head falling forward. The baby! Something is wrong. Min-ho leaned across the table, his eyes devoid of humanity. There is no baby, Seo-yoon. Not anymore. Look at yourself. You're draining away. If you sign this, I'll call the ambulance. If you don't, you'll bleed out on this floor, and I'll tell Jin-woo you took your own life out of guilt. Seo-yoon looked at the pen. Her hand shook. She felt a final sharp snap in her womb. The world began to go gray. He's lying, she realized through the haze of pain. He won't save me either way. With her last ounce of strength, she spat on the confession. Go to hell, Min-ho. Min-ho's face twisted with rage. He stood up, smoothing his jacket. Then die in the dark, inmate 4021. He walked out, signaling the guards to leave her. The lights in the room flickered and died. Seo-yoon slumped to the floor, the cold tile pressing against her cheek. She closed her eyes, a whisper leaving her lips. Jin-woo, I'm sorry. 4 hours later, the death of Lee Seo-yoon was reported to Kang Jin-woo at 2 a.m., but as Jin-woo was screaming in the morgue, pulling back sheets on a body that wasn't hers, a body swapped by Grandfather Kang's secret operatives. The real Seo-yoon was being wheeled into an unmarked surgical clinic in Incheon. Grandfather Kang stood over her, his cane trembling. "You saved my grandson's life twice, girl. Once with your blood, and once by taking his madness upon yourself. I cannot let you stay in this den of vipers." The baby?" Seo-yoon's voice was a thread. The surgeon looked up, his mask splattered with red. "It's a miracle. You lost half your volume, but the heart is still beating. You need to disappear, Seo-yoon. If Jin-woo finds you, he'll never let you go. And if Min-ho finds you, he'll finish the job." Seo-yoon looked at the ceiling, her heart hardening into a diamond. The pleading was gone. The martyr was dead. "Send me away," she whispered. "Change my name. Kill the janitor. I want to become something they can't break." 4 years later, the Grand Hyatt Seoul was a fortress of flashbulbs and silk. The International Jewelry Excellence Awards was the event of the decade. A black Maybach pulled up to the red carpet. The door opened and a woman stepped out. She wore a gown of midnight blue silk that flowed like water. Around her neck was a necklace of raw, unpolished diamonds set in blackened steel. She didn't look like a convict. She didn't look like a janitor. "It's her!" a reporter shouted. "The ghost designer, Vanessa Steele!" Vanessa Steele walked with a spine of iron. Behind her, her 2 closest allies followed. Helen, her sharp-tongued business manager, and Ethan, the man who had found her in a Paris studio and recognized the prison art for the genius it was. "You ready for this, V?" Helen whispered, scanning the crowd for threats. "The Kang group is here. Jin-woo is in the front row." Vanessa's hand didn't tremble. She adjusted her earring, a sharp silver needle. "I've been ready for 4 years, Helen. I didn't survive a stabbing and a heart stop to hide in the shadows." Inside the hall, the atmosphere was electric. Vanessa took her seat. She could feel a gaze burning into the back of her neck, a gaze she would know in the dark. She didn't turn around. "And now," the announcer boomed, "the award for Designer of the Year." The screen lit up with her collection, the Redemption series. It featured handcuffs turned into gold bracelets and bars turned into platinum rings. It was a slap in the face to the elite, and they loved it. "The winner is Vanessa Steele." The hall erupted. Vanessa stood up. Her legs were strong. Her eyes were clear. She walked to the stage, the spotlight blinding her. As she took the golden trophy, her gaze finally swept the audience. There he was, Kang Jin-woo. He looked older, more haunted. His blue eyes were no longer mad. They were hollow. He looked like a man who had been searching for a ghost in every crowd and had finally found her. He was halfway out of his seat, his face a mask of shock and agonizing hope. Vanessa gripped the microphone. Her voice was cool, professional, and entirely devoid of the inmate 4021 tremor. "Thank you," she said. "I dedicate this award to the people who think they can lock up a soul. You can take a woman's name, you can take her blood, but you can never take her talent." She looked directly at Jin-woo. "I'm alive, Chairman, and I'm coming for everything you own." The after party. Vanessa was trapped by a circle of investors when the air suddenly turned cold. The crowd parted. Jin-woo stood there. He didn't care about the cameras. He didn't care about the whispers. He walked until he was inches from her, his breath hitching. "Seo-yoon?" he whispered, his voice breaking. Vanessa tilted her head, a practiced, polite smile on her lips. "I'm sorry? You must have me confused with someone else, Chairman Kang. My name is Vanessa Steele." Jin-woo reached out, his fingers trembling, moving toward her arm, toward the spot where the blood donation scar should be. Vanessa didn't flinch. She pulled her sleeve back, revealing a stunning, intricate tattoo of a phoenix that covered her entire inner arm. The scar was gone, buried under ink and fire. "Is there a problem, Chairman?" she asked, her voice like silk over a blade. The scent! Jin-woo gasped, stepping closer, his eyes searching hers with a desperate, crushing intensity. Lavender and antiseptic. It's you! I know it's you! It's a custom perfume, Chairman, Vanessa replied. She leaned in, her lips brushing his ear, her voice dropping to a lethal whisper. It's called The Grave. Do you like it? Jin-woo recoiled, as if he'd been slapped. Before he could speak, a young boy, about 3 years old, ran into the room. He had messy black hair and deep, piercing blue eyes, eyes that were a mirror image of the man standing in front of Vanessa. Yama! The boy cried, grabbing Vanessa's hand. Jin-woo froze, every muscle in his body turned to stone. He looked at the boy. He looked at Vanessa. The biological pull he had felt 4 years ago didn't just return, it exploded. Vanessa! Ethan stepped forward, placing a protective hand on her waist. The car is ready. Min-ho is waiting in the boardroom for the merger talk. Vanessa picked up the boy, settling him on her hip. She looked at Jin-woo one last time. It was lovely meeting you, Chairman Kang. I look forward to our meeting tomorrow. I hear the Hanshin Group is looking to buy out your jewelry division. I'll be the one signing the papers. She turned and walked away. Jin-woo stood in the middle of the ballroom, his heart shattering in slow motion. He watched the boy, his boy, disappear into the elevator. Chairman? His secretary whispered. Are you okay? Jin-woo didn't answer. He looked at the spot where she had stood. She's back, he muttered, a dark, manic laugh bubbling up in his throat. She's back, and she brought my son. His eyes turned toward the VIP exit where Park Min-ho was leaving. The madness returned, but this time, it was focused. Cold. Secretary Kim, Jin-woo barked. Cancel the merger. Call the private security team. We aren't negotiating anymore. We're going to war. As Vanessa enters her penthouse, she looks at the boy, who is playing with a toy car. Her phone rings. It's an unknown number. She answers. I know who the father is, Seo-yoon. Min-ho's voice crackles on the line. And if you don't sign the Hanshin assets over to me tonight, the police will get an anonymous tip about a dead convict living under a fake name. How long do you think you'll keep that boy in a jail cell? Vanessa's grip on the phone tightens until her knuckles turn white. Try it, Min-ho, she hisses. I'm not the girl you stabbed anymore. I'm the one who holds the knife now. The air in the Hanshin Group boardroom was a clinical, predatory white. Vanessa Steele sat at the head of the table, her hands folded over a leather-bound folder. Across from her, Park Min-ho looked like a cornered animal trying to pass as a king. He kept glancing at the door, waiting for the police he had summoned. You're late with the signature, Vanessa, Min-ho said, his voice trembling with a forced bravado. The clock is ticking. One phone call and the ghost goes back to the grave. Your son won't like the visiting hours at the penitentiary. Vanessa didn't blink. She opened the folder. You're right, Min-ho. The clock is ticking, but not for me. She slid a document across the table. It wasn't a merger agreement. It was a forensic audit of the hit and run from 4 years ago, paired with a fresh DNA profile. What is this? Min-ho hissed. It's the reason I stayed alive, Vanessa said, her voice a calm, lethal staccato. The blood on the shears from the hospital, it wasn't mine or Bella's. It was a synthetic mix. And the dashcam footage you thought you burned? My brother, the failed medical student, spent 4 years recovering it from the cloud server you forgot existed. Min-ho's face turned the color of ash. You're bluffing. That evidence is inadmissible. Maybe in a courtroom. A new voice boomed. The double doors swung open. Kang Jin-woo stepped in. He wasn't wearing his usual CEO suit. He was in a black tactical jacket, his eyes burning with a cold, calculated madness. Behind him stood a team of private security and 2 high-ranking officials from the Seoul prosecutor's office. But in a boardroom takeover? Jin-woo continued, walking toward the table. It's a death sentence. Jin-woo didn't look at Min-ho. He looked at Vanessa. His gaze was a plea, an apology, and a vow all wrapped into one. Vanessa met his eyes. For the first time in 4 years, the steel mask flickered. Jin-woo, stay out of this! Min-ho stammered, backing toward the window. She's a fraud! She's using you! Jin-woo reached the table and slammed a second folder down. The boy, Min-ho, the boy is mine. I did the test the second I left that ballroom. He has my blood, my markers, my soul. He turned to the prosecutors. Arrest him for the 2020 hit and run, for evidence tampering, and for the attempted murder of my wife. She's not your wife? Min-ho screamed as the officers moved in. She's a convict. She's inmate 4021. She is the chairwoman of Hanshin, Jin-woo shouted over him, his voice shaking the glass walls. And she is the woman who saved my life. Every breath you took for the last 4 years was a gift from her silence. The gift is over. As Min-ho was dragged out, screaming and cursing, the room fell into a deafening silence. The prosecutors followed, leaving Vanessa and Jin-woo alone in the vast, cold space. Vanessa stood by the window, watching the police cars depart far below. Her heart was a chaotic rhythm. The revenge she had tasted for 4 years felt hollow. Seo-yoon. Jin-woo's voice was soft now. He didn't move toward her. He stayed by the door, respecting the distance she had built with fire and ink. I'm Vanessa now, she said, not turning around. Seo-yoon died in that police van. She bled out on a cold floor while you were being lied to. I know, Jin-woo whispered. A sob broke through his voice, a sound so raw it made Vanessa's hands shake. I lived in that morgue for months. I searched every face in Seoul. I turned into a monster because I thought the only light in the world had gone out because of my stupidity. He took one step forward, just one. The boy, what is his name? Haru, she said, finally turning. Her eyes were wet, but her chin was high. It means day, because he was the only reason I didn't let the darkness take me. Haru? Jin-woo repeated, the name a prayer on his lips. He has my eyes, but he has your strength. He looked at her, his blue eyes searching hers. I don't expect you to come back to the cage, Seo-yoon. I don't expect you to forgive me. But let me spend the rest of my life being the shield you didn't have. Vanessa walked toward him. She stopped just out of reach. She reached out and touched the lapel of his jacket. I don't need a shield, Jin-woo. I'm the one holding the sword now. Then let me be the one who stands behind you, he vowed. Suddenly, Vanessa's phone buzzed. It was Helen. Her voice was frantic. Vanessa, someone took Haru from the preschool, a black sedan. It had Hanshin plates, but it wasn't ours. The world turned to ice. Vanessa dropped the phone, her face draining of all color. Min-ho, she gasped. He had a backup plan. He didn't go for the assets. He went for the heart. Jin-woo's madness didn't just return. It solidified into a lethal, focused energy. He grabbed Vanessa's hand, his grip like iron. He's not leaving Seoul, Jin-woo hissed. I have the city wired. If he touches a hair on that boy's head, I won't just arrest him. I'll erase him. At the docks, the crane shadows stretched over the shipping containers like giant skeletal fingers. Park Min-ho stood at the edge of a rusted pier, holding Haru by the arm. The boy was crying, his small face red, clutching a stuffed phoenix Vanessa had made him. Stay back! Min-ho yelled as Jin-woo's convoy roared onto the pier. Vanessa jumped out of the car before it even stopped. Min-ho, let him go! You have the codes, you have the offshore accounts, just give me my son! Min-ho laughed, a high-pitched, broken sound. He looked skeletal, his eyes wide with the realization that he had lost everything. The money doesn't matter anymore, Seo-yoon. I want you to feel what I feel. I want you to watch your future sink into the harbor. He pulled a flare gun from his pocket and pointed it at a stack of chemical barrels next to the boy. No! Jin-woo screamed, lunging forward, action to reaction. Vanessa didn't scream. She didn't plead. She reached into her blazer and pulled out the sharp, silver needle earring, the one that was actually a concealed GPS transmitter and a weighted throwing blade Ethan had designed for her. She threw it. The needle pierced Minho's hand. He shrieked, the flare gun firing harmlessly into the sky. In that split second of distraction, Jin-woo was on him. He didn't use a weapon. He used his rage. He tackled Minho, the two of them spiraling toward the edge of the pier. Jin-woo! Vanessa cried, scooping Haru into her arms, shielding his eyes. There was a splash, then silence. Vanessa ran to the edge, her heart in her throat. The water was dark, churning with the tide. Jin-woo! She screamed. Jin-woo, please! For 10 agonizing seconds, nothing happened. Then, a hand broke the surface. Jin-woo pulled himself onto the lower dock, gasping for air, his hair plastered to his forehead. He was alone. Minho was gone, swallowed by the weight of his own crimes and the heavy current of the Han River. Jin-woo climbed up, his body trembling with exhaustion. He looked at Vanessa. He looked at Haru. Is he okay? Jin-woo gasped. Haru broke free from Vanessa and ran to Jin-woo, hugging his wet leg. Appa? The boy whispered, using the word for the first time. Jin-woo collapsed to his knees, pulling the boy into a crushing hug, his sobs echoing across the empty pier. Vanessa stood over them, the rain beginning to fall, washing away the gray of the prison, the red of the blood, and the black of the revenge. 1 month later, the balcony of the Lotte World Tower was peaceful. The glass railing had been repaired. The wind was a gentle caress. Vanessa Steele stood at the edge, looking out at the city. She wore a simple white dress, no uniform, no armor. Jin-woo walked out, carrying 2 cups of coffee. He looked younger. The hollow look in his eyes had been replaced by a quiet, steady light. Haru is asleep, he said, handing her a cup. He asked if we could go to the mountains tomorrow. He wants to see where the phoenixes live. Vanessa smiled, a real, warm smile that reached her eyes. I think we can manage that. Jin-woo leaned against the railing, looking at her. The board meeting went well today. The merger is complete. Hanshin and Kang Group are now one. You're the most powerful woman in Asia, Vanessa. I don't care about the power, Jin-woo, she said, looking at him. I just care about the peace. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. He didn't kneel. He didn't make a grand speech. He just opened it. Inside was a ring. It wasn't platinum or diamond. It was a simple band of gold, engraved with a single drop of red ruby. This isn't a contract, Jin-woo said, his voice thick with emotion. And it's not a cage. It's a promise that my blood, my life, and my soul belong to you. Not because of a debt, but because of a choice. Vanessa looked at the ring. She looked at the man who had been her tormentor, her savior, and the father of her child. She took the ring. She didn't put it on her finger. She placed it on a chain around her neck, resting it right over her heart. Give me time, she whispered. Jin-woo smiled, a look of pure, unadulterated devotion. I spent 3 years looking for a ghost. I can spend a lifetime waiting for the woman.